Shalom, shalom, shalom. As always, first I want to give all the praises and the glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Yahweh is the name of the Most High. Yahweh Shai is the name of the Son. Double honors to the apostles and to the elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect of the children of Israel. Many are called, few are chosen. All praises and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. So, I want to just play this little bit of information here. I want to play this little bit of information here that's recently came up on the news regarding the attacks that took place in Russia the other day, where 144 people were killed. Now, as you know, the West were quick to blame ISIS. The West were quick to blame ISIS for the terror attack, basically, and they were saying, oh, it was ISIS that did this, and then they said, oh, we gave information to the Russians a week before the attack to tell them that something was going to happen in either a cinema or a shopping mall or a music event, and that we warned all of our citizens to stay away from these places over the next 48 hours, and, you know, rat-a-tat-tat and all of this information. And then within an hour of the attack, the West came and said, oh, yeah, we know who it was. As a matter of fact, it was America that came up. Spokesman said, oh, we know who it was. It was ISIS. It was ISIS. It was ISIS. Well, the Russians have come to their own conclusions. I want you to listen to, this is her name, is Maria Sarakova. She's the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, right? I want you to listen to what she has to say. More so read the subtitles, because she's going to be speaking in Russian, what she has to say about attacks, right? Because they know now, the Russians know for definite, these attacks were orchestrated by the Ukrainians and the West, all right? So without further ado, let's quickly play this news thing here. And then, all right, let's hit it.
Для того, чтобы отвести подозрения от этого самого коллектива.
Remember, you're going to have to read the subtitles because she is speaking in good old Russian, all right? Miss Maria Sarakova. So it says, in order to divert suspicion from the collective West,
Запада, от Вашингтона, Лондона, Берлина.
The possible committing of terrorist acts on the territory of our country. So from Washington, London, Berlin, which directly discuss, as I already said, the possible committing of terrorist acts on the territory of our country.
Который буквально прямым текстом обсуждал, как я уже сказала, возможное совершение террористических актов на территории нашей страны, Парижа и других натовских стран, нужно было им срочно найти хоть что-то, хоть какое-то объяснение. Поэтому прибегли к ИГИЛ, вынули, так сказать, этот козырь из рукава. И Белым же домом вместе с Госдепартаментом было заявлено, прямая цитата, что Украина к этому отношения не имеет. Конец цитаты. На основе каких данных? На основе какой информации они сделали такой вывод? Совершенно непонятно. Понятно только одно. Они начали отмазывать киевский режим, чтобы...
She's absolutely right. The only one thing is clear, they began to excuse the Kiev regime in order to excuse themselves. Right? Because they had no information, no data to say it was someone else. But listen.
Самим отмазаться, потому что все прекрасно понимают, что никакого самостоятельного киевского режима без западной финансовой поддержки.
This is absolutely right there again as well. Because everyone understands perfectly well that there is no independent Kiev regime without Western financial support. That's a fact.
Военной помощи этому режиму просто нет. И буквально спустя несколько часов после теракта англосаксонские медиа...
I like that. She said the mainstream Anglo-Saxon media. Basically, she's saying the Edomites on the West, in the Western media, that's what she's saying, really. The mainstream Anglo-Saxon media, the Edomites of the West. Anyway, continue reading.
Мейнстримовые CNN, New York Times и многие другие начали распространять именно эти версии. Главный смысл которых сводился к одному. Во всем виноват ИГИЛ. Якобы Так следовало из материалов западных мейнстримовых средств массовой информации. Еще в начале марта США получили соответствующие данные о том, что одно из подразделений, одно из крыльев этой организации планировало теракт в Москве. Но опять же, крайне трудно поверить в то, что у группировки численностью, по данным ООН, несколько тысяч человек, есть такие разветвленные возможности. И самое главное, это даже если они и есть, все-таки нужно дождаться расследования, было бы. Но нет, мы в очередной раз увидели вот эту самую смычку западного политического истеблишмента, включая специальные службы, с их западным...
She's absolutely right there. The bond and the link between the intelligence services and the Western media. They're one and the same thing. One and the same thing, right? The intelligence service of the West and the Western media, they're working in sync with each other, as she says there.
же средствами массовой информации.
So we know that for a fact, all right? So there was an article that came out today as well. It says the chief suspects in last week's terrorist attack on the Crocus City Hall have testified that their orders came from a mystery man who told them to flee to Ukraine afterwards. The Russian Investigative Committee announced on Friday, which is today. It says security services detained the 4 suspect perpetrators near the Ukrainian border last Saturday. The attack, which claimed, look at that, 144 lives. Tell me if that ain't spiritual. The attack claimed 144 lives, 144, and left over 200 people hospitalized. It says in their initial testimonies and during their subsequent interrogations, the suspects said the attacks were prepared in coordination with a man who introduced himself to them under a pseudonym. The investigative committee said in a statement, he communicated with them by voice messages sent over Telegram. So they want you to believe, right, that ISIS are sitting around their phones, sitting around a campfire in somewhere like, I don't know, in Afghanistan or Pakistan or Iraq or Syria, that ISIS are sitting around a campfire, looking at their phone, scrolling through Telegram, waiting for someone to come up with a job for them, a random job. That this from a person they've never known, never met, is going to come up with a random job for them and say, yeah, go and do this, go and do that. Come on, man, you'd have to be a complete fool to believe that, right? So this is what they said. They said that someone communicated with them by voice messages over Telegram, right? It says on the instructions of the coordinator, after committing the crime, the terrorist drove in a car towards the Russian-Ukrainian border to subsequently cross it and arrive in Kiev to receive the promised reward, right? It says the investigative committee has said it is continuing to verify the involvement of representatives of Ukrainian special services in organizing and financing the terrorist attack. Russian special forces intercepted the 4 suspect perpetrators last Saturday en route to the Ukrainian border. They were identified as nationals of Tajikistan and initially described by officials as radical Islamists. The terror group ISSK has claimed responsibility for the massacre. The US and EU have insisted that the ISIS was the sole culprit and that Ukraine has no involvement. Moscow, however, remains skeptical. President Vladimir Putin, Sergei Lavrov, and the head of the FSB and the investigative committee have all claimed that multiple clues point to Kiev's involvement. Lavrov described the West's insistence on Ukraine's innocence as suspicious in itself. Absolutely. Come on, man. So they're not falling for this bullshit that the West is trying to throw at them, trying to throw away the scent. They know the West somehow is involved in this, right? They know the West is somehow involved in this. So they're not being thrown off by this madness. So this is just going to lead to this line in the sand between Russia and the West is just going to get deeper and wider, right? Or should I say thinner, right? Because Russia knows that these people masterminded this attack. He knows that. These guys ain't sitting around a campfire, like I said. They're not going to be sitting around and think about this, right? Just use your common sense. They want you to believe that ISIS are sitting around a campfire in Afghanistan or Pakistan or Turkestan or Syria, scrolling through messages on Telegram or WhatsApp, waiting for someone to ping them and say, "Oh, you don't know who I am, but I want you to go and do this attack in this place and kill as many as people as you can. And by the way, I'm going to transfer 5,000 euros to your bank account." Come on, man. 5,000 euros. ISIS, if they're going to do something, they're not communicating with some third party who they've never heard of, never spoke to, and then they're just going to spring up and say, "Yeah, we're going to go and commit this crime for this Mr. Unknown." No way. These guys are not ISIS. These guys here that committed this attack, they're not members of ISIS. Absolutely not. These guys, when I saw these guys on telly, they looked to me like they was strung out junkies that did get a message on Telegram to go and do something, and was directed by Western intelligence and Ukrainian intelligence to help them, who would have commissioned and supplied the weapons for them and gave them the information for where they were going to go and do this. There's no way these are hardcore terrorists sitting around a campfire waiting for someone out of the blue just to ping them and say, "Oh, I've got a job for you." It don't work like that. There's no way they're doing that. No way. These guys look so strung out to me when I saw them, right? They look so strung out when I saw these guys, right? Let's see if I can get it up on the screen. See if we can get it up. Right, there's no way these guys are. They've got pictures of the culprits. There's no way, no way these guys are who they say they are. And then and then all of a sudden, they sent them pictures. Somehow the West found pictures of these guys. This is one of them. There's no way. Let me switch screens here so you can see what I'm seeing. 1 second, family. Have a little patience, man. This is just gonna, like I said, man, this thing is gonna draw out. All right, so this is one of them. Let me switch this screen here so you can see what I'm seeing. So this was one of them, right? Okay, this is all 4 of them. These guys look like junkies, mate. And then this is, and then let me show you what the Western. This is the picture of them, right? This is the 4 of them, right? And since when do ISIS just surrender and give themselves up? Since when has that been a new motto for ISIS? ISIS don't give themselves up, and ISIS fight to the death. There's no way you're capturing them unless they run out of ammunition and they haven't got a friggin' thing. Since when do ISIS travel without strapping themselves up with dynamite? These guys, ISIS are known to, anywhere they go on a mission, they're going to strap themselves up with a whole heap of C4 around their belly and everything and that. So if they do get caught, they can blow themselves up and anybody else with them. These guys never had none of that. 3 of the 4 surrendered, just literally surrendered when they were caught, didn't put up a fight. They wanted to believe that these 4 looking junkies are these highly intelligent terrorists that planned this thing and that was working with some third party. Come on, man. If they got that call that they got on Telegram, they're working. The West coerced them to do this thing along with Ukrainians. There's no way this is some independent thing. And then we saw, I'm trying to see the other picture I got here. And then this was the picture, right? This is what made me laugh about them. After everybody had seen who they are, this was the so-called photo that ISIS supposedly released to say these were the guys that committed the terrorists. Now, that committed the act. Now, you ask, just to show you how stupid, you'd have to be stupid, deaf, dumb, and blind, right? Think about what's going on here. everybody's already seen their faces, right? Because they're caught. These guys are caught, right? They're in Russia. They're caught. They're banged up in jail. Their faces are all over the world. Everyone can see who they are. Why would ISIS then send a photo and put it up on their supposedly Telegram site with 4 guys, right, with bandanas covering half of their face and then the rest of their face smudged out, blurred out? Why would they blur out the images of these guys and send a picture of them with their faces all covered up, right? So forth. Why would they need to hide what they look like? Remember, they're already being caught. If these are really the guys, right? Right? But this is the photo that, look, this is the photo that's the Jerusalem Post. This is the photo. See, photo of terrorists responsible for Moscow's attack released by ISIS. Jerusalem Post. So you know Mossad is involved in this, the Israelis. They're fully involved in this, what's going on as well. The Israelis, because the Israelis are at loggerheads with the Russians, because the Russians are standing by the Iranians and the Syrians in their fight against Israel and helping them with their technology and so forth. And they're helping the Iranians to build the nuclear bomb, nuclear weapons. They're helping Assad in Syria, right? Why would they, photo terrorists from Moscow released by ISIS, the Jerusalem Post, why would ISIS release a photo of the so-called terrorists, right, with blurred out faces and cover their faces, if the whole world has seen them already? So you got to know this is propaganda, complete propaganda. This is not them. This is not them. It's as simple as that. This is not them. ISIS didn't do this. These guys, wherever they were taken in from, whatever rehab junkie place, and because you know a lot of people in Afghanistan and Pakistan smoke heroin, they're on heroin and that, right? There's no way it's these guys here. Where is he going? No way, no way, no way, no way, no way, no way. This is the photo that they're sending. Blurred photo. Anyone can fucking put a photo up on Thingy Bomb and say, oh, where ISIS and this and that. That's total bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Absolute BS. When the whole world, where's the photo going again, if I can find it? When the whole world has already seen them. The whole world has seen these guys. Caught on the same day, within hours. They want you to believe it's that. But anyway, like I said, the division that we're going to see, that we're going to see, this is why they said Russia's going to hit back hard. They're going to hit back hard because they're trying to get Russia to distract from the war that they're fighting in Ukraine. Russia is winning the war in Ukraine. The Ukrainian soldiers, I'm not sure if I can find it. I had a post here the other day, all right? Oh, let's see if I can find it. Is it here? Where is it? So, oh, you know what? Let me see if it comes up. The Polish general, Ukraine, 1 million soldiers dead. Here it is. So this is what mainstream media is not telling you. It says Ukraine's real losses should be counted in millions, not tens of thousands, in millions. Ex-Polish general, army general staff chief. The Ukrainians are losing this war. Regiment Andrzejczyk said, describing the situation as very, very dramatic. This is why they're trying to get Putin and the Russians to take their eye off the prize of winning this war. Because once they've fully defeated the Ukrainians in this war, they're probably going to march on to Kiev. The Europeans are going to have to put their tail between their legs. This is why they're so terrified of Donald Trump coming into power. Because Trump said the minute he comes into power, he's going to cut off all supply, whether it's logistical and monetary supplies of money to Ukraine. Done, finish. He said the minute he comes into office, he's going to cut it all off. He said if the Europeans want to keep on funding Ukraine, so let them do it. He said, I'm not going to be any part of it. That's what Donald Trump said. This is why they're so terrified of Trump coming in. Remember, the spending bill that went through the House of Senate the other day, all right? There's another thing I want to bring up here, right? The spending bill, the $1 trillion, I'm going to read the rest of the article. The $1 trillion spending bill, US Congress, right? So here, Biden signs 1.2, come on you, just to show you something. You don't want to come up? All right, hold on, let's go to another, that's not coming from that article. Biden signs 1.2 trillion funding package averting US government shutdown, right? Senate passed the bill after hours of gridlock over funding for 3/4 of the government for the next 6 months. Now, part of that 1.2 trillion that was signed off, the 80 billion that Ukraine was looking for is not part of this. So Ukraine was waiting for $80 billion to be signed off as part of this 1.2 trillion fund. I wonder if it actually says in the article here. People strength economy and national security. Biden said and said. Okay, don't say it. Anyway, so the money that Ukraine's been waiting for from America is not part of this bill because Congress is controlled by the Republicans. And they said, no, we're not sending off any more money to Ukraine. Because they know, America knows that Ukraine, it's the Democrats that are trying to continue funding this war because they're the ones that originally was funding this war alongside their NATO members in Europe, right? But they realize now that this is a losing battle. They're not going to win it. It's going to be bad for Biden, but good for the Republicans. So they didn't sign off the $80 billion to be part of this bill here that Biden needed to keep the US government going for the next 6 months because they're broke. The US government is broke. 6 months, 1.2 trillion. So these are the information that your mainstream media is not showing everyone, but social media knows all about this. Moscow, March the 19th, Ukraine's losses in the confrontation with the Russian forces, just so you know, let's get this up. In the Russian armed forces should be counted in the millions rather than in the hundreds of thousands, a high-ranking Polish general said. Let me say this again. Ukraine's losses in its confrontation with the Russian armed forces should be counted in the millions rather than in the hundreds of thousands, a high-ranking Polish general said. Former Chief of General of Staff of the Polish Armed Forces, Rajman Andrzejczyk, said in an interview with the Polsat TV channel, it's a Polish TV channel, I believe that Ukraine's actual losses should be counted in the millions, not in the hundreds of thousands. There are no resources in this country. No one left to fight, the general added. Right? That's why they're not able to recruit. There's no one else that wants to fight. Everyone else has fled Ukraine. The Ukrainians are losing this war, he said, describing the situation as very, very dramatic. Commenting on the strategic situation on the battlefield under the new Ukrainian commander-in-chief, Alexander Strazak, which is the new Ukrainian commander-in-chief of the war, remember they fired the other one the other day, who recently replaced, it says here, who recently replaced the former commander, General Valery Zaluzhny. Andrzejczyk said that the top brass reshuffle had not changed anything. General Syrskyi is facing the same dilemmas as General Zaluzhny. It turns out that he had to withdraw the troops and tidy up the front line. All the problems that Zaluzhny had still remain, he maintained. When asked to comment on reports saying that Ukrainian forces may run out of air defense missiles by the end of March, the general opined that this means further effective strikes on Ukraine, more victims, more elements of the Ukrainian state's infrastructure destroyed. And ain't that what we're seeing? What has Russia been destroying over the last week is their infrastructure. It's been all over the news. They've been hitting the infrastructure rapidly. Why? Because, just like he says here, Ukrainians forces may what? Ukrainian forces may run out of air defense missiles by the end of March. That's why they keep asking the Americans for more Patriot missiles. So that war is finished for Ukraine. That's why they can't recruit nobody, because no one's coming home. Mums and dads are not getting their sons and daughters home. It's finished for them. And this is why you see the French are going into overdrive, talking about they want to send troops into Ukraine. The France president said he wants to send troops into Ukraine to help the Ukrainians, this and that. So while the Americans are backing out, certain European countries are getting more involved. The Germans aren't stepping back now, little by little. Even Germany is stepping back. Little by little, Germany is stepping back. But France is trying to up the ante because he's looking votes. That Rothschild banker, Emmanuel Macron, just in case you didn't know, Emmanuel Macron was a Rothschild banker. He worked for the Rothschilds. That's why up to today, I can't understand how they voted that man into power. But hey, that's what it is. So France is trying to send Ukrainian 2,000 troops into Ukraine. See if I can find it. There was an article I was reading about that the other day as well. So this was it here. France already preparing some 2,000 troops for Ukraine, Russia claims. Head of intelligence, Nashkin, says Macron's hiding number of French troops already killed in Ukraine. They're finished, mate. They are finished. The Ukrainians are finished. It says France is preparing 2,000 troops to send to Ukraine, the head of the Russian Foreign Intelligence Services said Wednesday. The contingent for sending to Ukraine is already being prepared at the initial stage. It will amount to about 2,000 people, Sergei Naryshkin said in an interview with Russian state news agency. Naryshkin said French President Emmanuel Macron, he's a Rothschild banker, if you didn't know, look it up, he used to work for the Rothschilds, is hiding the truth about the number of French soldiers already killed in Ukraine. And I can believe that. For fear of mass protests in his country. This is what I'm saying. The Western mainstream media is suppressing the truth of what's truly going on in Ukraine. They're suppressing it. It says here, sooner or later, Macron will have to reveal the ugly truth, but he will strive to delay the confessions as much as possible. As they say in the Elysee Palace, which is the French president's, that's like the White House in France, right? The Elysee Palace, that's like the White House in France. As they say in the Elysee Palace, the number of French dead has already exceeded a psychological significant threshold. The release of such sensitive data can provoke citizens to protest, especially against the background of mass anti-government protests by farmers across the country. Think about what they did in the Vietnam War in America. They were suppressing, except that time the media wasn't in bed with the government. The government was suppressing the information from the American public about the amount of American soldiers that was dying in Vietnam. It was the actual independent media, the real media back then, they were actually doing real journalism work that released that information. This is what caused the outrage in America, the protest until America finally came out of Vietnam. But back then, the media actually did their jobs. Today, they work lockstep with the governments of their countries, the mainstream media. It says, Naryshkin urged that French military leadership fears discontent among active mid-level officers. Among the dead, there are disproportionately many of them, and already at the current stage, there are problems with finding volunteers for rotation and replacing those who have dropped out in the Ukrainian theater of military operations, he said. He claimed that the French military is visibly concerned about the increased number of French soldiers and said they also fear such a significant unit will not be able to be sent to Ukraine quietly and be stationed there. Thus, the French contingent, will become a legitimate priority target for attacks from the Russian armed forces. This means that the fate of all Frenchmen who have ever come to the territory who have ever come to the territory of the Russian world with a sword could await it, he added. All right. Last month, Macron refused to rule out sending Western troops to Ukraine, where Russians launched a special military operation 2 years ago. The idea, however, was rejected by the Allies. All right. So they believe that 2,000 troops are already prepped and ready to go and fight in Ukraine. So when we talk about this war between the West and the East, between Russia and the beast, NATO, it's going to happen. Where they're going to be confronting each other head on. It's going to happen. It's as simple as that. No ifs, no buts, no maybe. It's going to happen. So I got to bring out a scripture. We're speaking for about half an hour. But we've got to bring out a scripture. So we all know that the beast, which is NATO and the EU, is going to come head to head against the Russians. We know Ezekiel 38 is a major part of this war. You don't need to read through it. We'll just bring it up on the screen so you can see it. We know this is a major part of the prophecy about Gog and the future invasion of Israel. Hence the war that's going on in Israel, because all roads are going to eventually lead to Israel. All roads are going to eventually lead to Israel. We know Gog is talking about the Russians in the land of Magog. Russia is in the land of Magog. So we know the chief prince of Meshes and Tubal is talking about Russia. The word chief prince, we know it means Russia, right? So we know all roads are going to lead to this war taking place. It's as simple as that. We also understand that the beast that the Bible speaks of in Revelation 13 is talking about NATO. So when it says here, Revelation 13:1, and I stood upon the stand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. This beast is talking about, this is the reincarnation of the Roman Empire. The beast today is what we know as NATO and its European members. Russia was never part of ancient Rome. Russia as a country, the Rus, didn't come into power, into play until around the 7th century AD. The Roman Empire was coming to its end by then. I mean, it come to its end before that, the Roman Empire, before the 7th century AD. That's during the time of the Byzantine Empire, where the Roman Empire was ruled from the east, what we know today as Turkey or Istanbul. That was the capital of the Byzantine Empire, originally known as Constantinople. So Russia as a country didn't come about until around the 7th, 8th century AD. They're the ones that took down the Khazars. The Khazars, who we know as the so-called Jews today, Amalek, the Amalekites. So if we was to type in, just to show you, Rus war Khazars. Let me see if it comes up. Should come up. Just to show you. Sixth century AD. Clash. See? Let's see if it says. So it says here. Let's see what it says here. Because people don't know about this history. They don't know about the Khazar Khaganate, a piece of Near East history in the Russian-Ukraine conflict. Let's see if it tells about it. Let's have a quick look. It's an interesting fragment of Near East history embedded in the culture of the Russian-Ukraine conflict. Okay. It says here, it says history and geopolitics of the Ukrainian crisis from Kievan Rus, because Kiev, Ukraine, was part of Russia. To date, published by Karaoke as part of the Historical Studies collection, one section of the studies dedicated to the enigmatic Turkish Jewish, because we tell you that the Turks are the same, those people in the land of Turkey today, They're Khazars as well. They're Edomites as well. Those people that call themselves Turks, that worship Islam, they are Edomites as well. They're Khazars. They're the same people as the small hats. They're Amalek. All right. It says there, one section of the study is dedicated to the enigmatic Turkish Jewish Middle Empire, the Khazar Kingdom of the Khaganate, which rose between 6th and 7th century and flourished until the 10th century. It covered a vast territory spanning the steppes lands of the Black Sea to the border with the regions of Central Asia, which was dominated by a powerful confederation of semi-nomadic Turkish populations with remote Hunnic origins and inhabited by Slavic, Caucasian, Persian, Crimean, Greek communities. The Khazar legacy planted some of its seeds and its regions in the states of Dagestan, Circassia, Georgia, Chechnya, Central Eastern Crimea, Southern Russia, Azerbaijan, and part of Kyrgyzstan. Let's see if it actually talks about the war. Conversation. Let's see if it talks about the war. There's a melting pot of people at first dedicated to shamanism with the inclination of trade and cosmopolitan. The Khazars constitute a sort of Western defense against the penetration of the Islamic armies, the Umayyad Caliphate first and the Abbasid Caliphate later. The Byzantine Empire took advantage of the situation, and its basilisk Constantine V married the Khazar princess Tizitak, later known as Irene the Khazar. It says the whole of the Khazar kingdom as a bastion against Islam coincided with the victorious battles of Charles Martyr of the Poitiers and the Tours and Leo III. But I'm trying to see where it comes to the point. I'm trying to see if it shows me. That's the Arab Khazar battle. So I'm going to see if it shows us. Asia, but progressive conversion. Okay. Seller defines the Khazar Khaganate as a unique Euro-Asia empire whose progressive conversion of monotheistic cult did not stop the Kiev Rus under Savislav I from invading and destroying its capital in 961 AD. So that's when they took down the Khazars. 961 AD. That's what I was looking for. That's the information I was looking for. The Russians took down the Khazars. All right. See, it says here. The Kiev Rus, it says, Seller defines the Khazar Khaganate as a unique Euro-Asia empire whose progressive conversion to a monolithic cult, Judaism, did not stop the Kiev Rus, the Russians, right? Because Kiev was part of Russia, it was known as Rus, under Savislav I from invading and destroying its capital in 961 AD. It says the religious conversion of the Khazars is thought to date back between the 7th century and the beginning of the 8th century, as we always tell you about them converting to Judaism, and is reported to have been the fruit of the deliberate decision taken within the Abrahamic world, which opted for Jewish primacy over the cross or the crescent. The cross meaning straight up Christianity and the crescent meaning Islam. They opted for Jewish primacy, right? To mark a net distinction between the Christian West on one side and the East, then on its way to Islamization on the other, all right? It says the choice was based on strategic reasons compounded with family ties and inclusion of Jewish Radahite merchants and a hodgepodge of other contributions from various latitudes. But anyway, the point I wanted to get to, I got here, is tell you about that, because we know how the Khazars came about. The Turks are the people in Turkey are the same as people in. This is why you see Turkey not doing much about what's going on in Palestine. You've heard them speak a lot, say a lot of shit, but they've not actually taken any action like how you saw Yemen have or Hezbollah have against the Israelis, because the Turks know that them and the Israelis are the same fucking people. They know that they're Khazars. They're all Edomites. They know they go back to Amalek. The Turks know that. That's why they haven't taken any action against the Israelis. They haven't kicked out the Israeli ambassador out of Turkey. They haven't brought back their ambassador from Israel. All Turkey has done at the beginning of that war against the Palestinians was a lot of lip service, just so you understand. So the Russians know all of this history. The Russians know all of the Russians know the history of these nations, who they are, who we are, who these nations are. The Russians know who they are. He knows that they're Khazars. They know all this history. So my point is, when I go back here to Revelations 13, when it talks about the beast here, that's why we said that Russia's not part of the beast. Because the Russians never came into power until around this time here, 961 AD. By then, the Roman Empire was coming to its end. It was the Byzantine Empire that was in power. But the Roman Empire had come to its end a long time before Russia kind of became this main place around. I mean, Kiev, Russia came around about 7th century AD, but came to its power when it took down the biggest warmongers around that time were the Khazars. Today we call them the small hats, the so-called Israelis. The Turks are Khazars as well. People in Turkey today. So Russia's not part of this beast that some people like to say, because the beast, the members of the beast are members of the Roman Empire. When it speaks about they're having 7 heads and 10 horns, the 7 heads go back to the 7 European Edomite empires, all the way back to the times of the Romans and before the Romans. So we've got the Greeks that are part of that as well. The Greek Empire is part of the Beast Empire. And this is why you see the Russia knows all of these countries' histories, right? That's why you see them releasing a lot of shit when it comes to the icons, the Russian icons, even though they've been around for, that information came out roughly about 15 years ago, just so you know, all right? But it's just been re-released and more stuff has been released now, hence why it's hit the forefront. But the beast, the 7 empires, the Russians was never part of those 7 heads, 7 empires that it speaks about in Revelation 17, all right? And in Revelation 13. That's the Greeks, the Romans, the Spanish, German, Germania Minor, Germania Major, the British, and what we know today, well, not the American, but it's the British Empire. Those what kind of made up those empires then. That makes up the beast there. Having 7 heads and 10 horns. The 10 horns are symbolic for the European Union. You had the 10 tribes that the Romans were fighting against, right? Back in the days, I forget what they were called. The 10 tribes that go all the way back to the book of Daniel's. I think it's Daniel's chapter 7, which speaks about the Germanic tribes, which make up Germania Minor and Germania Major today. But you had those 10 tribes, which are like the Vangoths, that's it, the Vangoths, the Ostrogoths, the Vandals, the Lombards, the Alemanni, the Burgundies, the Franks, the Jutes, the Angles, the Saxons, and so forth and so on. Germania Minor, Germania Major. But that's who they are. That's who the beast is. Rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads, the 7 empires, and 10 horns, the European nations. And upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the names of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. The leopard is symbolic, represents who? The Greek Empire under Alexander the Great. That's the leopard. That's what that represents there. Alexander the Great. And his feet were as the feet of the bear. So who is the bear? Come on, you must know, family. The bear is who? Russia. What is Russia's symbol? It's the bear. It has the feet, and his feet were as the feet of the bear. Because the Russians is the one that's going to take down these nations. Russia's the one's going to take down the beast. And in the midst of this war, Yahushua and the angels are going to come, because they're going to go from a conventional war to a nuclear war. But that's the bear, is Russia. And his mouth as a lion. The lion is symbolic for who? For Great Britain. And the dragon is the Roman Empire. The reincarnation of the Roman Empire is who? Babylon the Great, America, and its European NATO allies. But the dragon is talking about the Roman Empire, gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast, because the Roman Empire was the 4th beast in the book of Daniel. His deadly wound was wounded. When was it wounded? During the time of the Byzantine Empire. So during when all of this was going on, the beast was wounded because the beast lost its power, which was the fourth beast of the book of Daniel's, around, say, 300, between 300 and 400 AD. Say around 300 AD, during the times of, I think, totally lost its power. We could say we could even go back during the time of the 5 good emperors. That's when it started to lose its power. It totally lost its power under Constantine the Great, because that's when the empire, the capital of the Roman Empire now was no longer in the west, it was in the east, in what we know today as Istanbul. That was known as Constantinople. So during Constantine the Great, that's when the Roman Empire of the west lost its power. But in terms of the emperors, the last Edomite Caucasian emperor in the Roman Empire, that would have been Domitian, the son of Vespasian, the brother of Titus. Then after that, you had the 5 good emperors. The first, what we refer to as so-called black emperors. Nerva was the first one. And then I think you had Trajan, Nerva, Trajan. Was it Nerva, Trajan? I think, was it Commodus was one of them. Septimius Severus was another one. And I forget the other one. But you had the 5 good emperors, basically. If we say the 5 good emperors of Rome, Hadrian, so that's the other one. Trajan, Hadrian, that's it. Antonius Pius, that's the name I couldn't remember. And Marcus Aurelius. Commodus was Marcus Aurelius' son. Nerva was the first one. This is when so-called black men, Jakes, Israelites, started to rule the Roman Empire. But it didn't totally lose its power in the western part of it until the headquarters of it was moved from the west to the east. And the beginning of that started, I think, around the time of Marcus Aurelius, where he was ruling from both sides until the power became in the east, in what we know today as Istanbul, originally known as Constantinople. And then it became known as the Byzantine Empire. So that's when it would have lost its power. So when we kind of read some of this, it's all during this time it lost its power, the Roman Empire. And all these things were going on. So it says here, and I saw one of his heads as it was wounded to death, the beast, the Roman Empire, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. So when was his deadly wound healed? During the time that it would have really begun around the time of what's her name? Queen Isabella of Spain and King Ferdinand of Portugal, when they came together to take down the Moors. The Moors were Israelites who were worshipping Islam. The last stronghold of the Moors was a place called Granada in Spain. That's when the deadly wound was healed. When King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella came together and took down the Moors. And they worship the dragon. The dragon is the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire today is America, the reincarnated Roman Empire, which gave power unto the beast. The beast represents European Union and NATO. And they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is like unto NATO? And who is able to make war with him? So who is going to make war with him? Gog, from the land of Magog, the Russians, the chief prince of Meshech. This is who the Lord is getting ready to make war with, the beast. So who is able to make war with him? Gog. Because, and there was given unto him a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemies. What's the greatest blasphemy that the beast, the European Union, these Edomites, the reincarnated Roman Empire, what's the greatest blasphemies that they've done? We're seeing it today. It's all being, well, a lot of it's been revealed now. The Russian icons, they changed the Lord from a so-called black man to a so-called white man. They changed the apostles, the disciples, the people of the book from so-called black people, people of color, to so-called white people. Those are the greatest blasphemies. They took the children of Israel, they put them into captivity, and they gave their thingy bob, their identity to These people here, the Khazars, who, just like it says here, the religious conversion of the Khazars is thought to go back between the 7th to the end of the 7th and the beginning of the 8th century, and is reported to have been the fruit of the deliberate decision taken within the Abrahamic world, because Islam came from that line as well, Ishmael's sons. Christianity came from it, Judaism came from it, which opted for the Jewish primacy. So they took our religion, our beliefs, our book, and they called it Judaism, over the cross, which is what we know as white Jesus Christianity, white supremacist Christianity, or the crescent, right? To mark a net distinction between the Christian West on one side and the East, then on its other side, the Islamization of the other. So that's what they did. That's what the devil did, just so you understand. So when we go back here, and it says, and there was given unto him a great mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. The greatest blasphemy is that they took the Lord and they turned him from a so-called black man to a white man. They took the Lord's people and said, these small hats in the land of Israel, these Khazars that coming out of Caucasus Mountains, those are the children of Israel. And power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. So what does the 40 and 2 months represent? The 40 and 2 months represents the 350 years of slavery to us waking up to this truth. So from the first great amount of slaves coming to the Americas in 1619, all the way up to, I think, 1969, when the seven started to bring this truth out. The seven were the teachers of the apostles. They were the teachers of our apostles, Elder Apostle Tahar, Arimlab, Rakar, and Gabar. They were taught by the seven. 350 years, the 40 and 2 months works out to 1,260 days, which is symbolic for, which is 3.5 years, which is symbolic for 350 years of slavery before we were waking up to this truth. That's what that's talking about. So that's the blasphemy that they done. But like I said, who's coming to make war with him, with the beast? Gog, son of man, set our face against God in the land of Magon, chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesied against him, and say, thus says the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. And I will turn thee back to that old Russian warrior. I'm going to turn you back to that old Russian warrior USR state of mind. And I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, and horses and horsemen, all of them clothed in all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. That's what the Lord's going to do. And that's what we see happening now. And if we go to, is it Isaiah 13? Hold on. Let's get some blue letter. 1 second. I didn't expect to be this long, but I'm going to go with the Spirit. So Isaiah 13:1. This is what the Lord is bringing against him. Isaiah speaks about it. Prophecies about Babylon. Babylon is America. Isaiah speaks about this as well. Judgment on the day of the Lord, of Yahweh. This is what's awaiting those devils in Babylon. That's what I said, boy. The things that they are doing to Russia, and Russia can see openly that the West are openly doing these things and trying to blame third parties. And at the end of the day, it's the West that controls ISIS. ISIS was created by the West to create turmoil in Iraq, Syria, the Middle East. They're trying to get them into Iran, these ISIS, to create turmoil in Pakistan, all these places that they want to have a foothold in. Is it in here? I'm going to go to. Okay, there you go. Babylon will fall to the Medes. The Medes is the Russians, the same land of Magog, the land of Magog that Russia is in today. That land was originally called Magog. After that, it was known as, say, about 1,000 odd years after the land, it was known as Magog, it was known as the land of the Medes, right? The Persians and the Medes controlled it. It was known as the land of the Medes. After it was known as the land of Magog. So in Ezekiel, it refers to the land that Russia's in today as the land of Magog. That's what its originally name was, all right? Because these are the sons of, is it Javan, the sons of Japhet, who originally were in those lands, all right? I think it's Javan. Is it Javan? Let's just quickly look it up. Let's just quickly look it up. You're getting a lot of information today, family. A lot of information. I think Gog, Magog, or Gog, let me just see. Javan, who's the son of Japhet. Okay, the sons of Japhet were Gomer. Okay, Magog. So Magog was a son of Japhet. Right? That's why it's known as the land of Magog, because it was Magog's land originally. The land belonged to Japhet. Japhet controlled all of what we know as Western Europe and most of Eastern Europe was given to Japhet. Ham was given Africa, what we know today as Africa. Shem was given what we know today as the Middle East. So this is why when we go to Ezekiel 38 and it says in the land of Magog, it was originally known as the land of Magog because that land was originally given to Japhet and his sons. And one of his sons was Magog. So I just kind of want you to understand that, why we know that. And then after that, say a couple thousand years or 1,000 years, whatever, I can't give you the exact time after that, 1,000, 1,500 years after that, it was known as the land of the Medes. The Medes controlled that land. So this Babylon that's going to fall by the Medes, this is talking about modern Babylon. This Babylon in the future, which is America, it's going to fall to the Medes. The Medes are the Russians, because the land that the Russians are in today was known as the land of the Medes. Before that, it was known as the land of Magog. Just so you understand. It says, behold, I will stir up the Medes, the Russians. And you can see that's what the Lord is doing. He's stirring them up. He's letting these Edomites in the West do all of their wickedness and deception against Russia. The Lord is stirring up the Russians. Believe you me, the Russians are fuming. And to think 144 have died. Look at that number. That's significant. We looked at that earlier, right? It said 144. I've still got it up. It said, let's see if I still got it up. Hold on. I still got it up? No. Russian casualties. Russian. That's significant, that is. Especially if it stays at that number. Believe me when I tell you. Russian attack death count. Let's see what comes up. It says, where was I reading it today? It says 143 here. One that I just read did say 144. Ah, that was RT I was reading it from. So since this has come up, this is 1 day ago. Let me see if it shows me here, news. 143, 143, because what I just read on RT, because I was reading that from my phone. So this is 1 day ago. You can see it says 1 day ago. If I go to RT on my phone, all right, it's telling me, just make sure that's where I just saw it. Yep. So the latest figure, the attack has claimed 144 lives and left over 200 people hospitalized. So this feels like, so will it stay at 144? We'll see. Because that will be significant if it does. If it stays at 144, because it says, I'm reading from RT News. Oh, look, see, there you go. 12 minutes ago. So it's showing you here. Russian detains another suspect over concert hall attack that killed 144. So let's see if it stays at 144. Let's see. Let's see. Because numbers mean a lot. So we're going to see if it stays there at 144. All right? We're going to see if it actually stays there, because numbers truly do mean a lot. All right? If it actually stays and doesn't go off of that. So where was we? Back to Isaiah. Right, so Babylon will fall to the Medes. The Medes are the Russians. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. Now, you tell me if the Lord is not stirring up the Russians against the beast and its NATO allies, against America, the dragon, and the beast. You truly tell me if the Most High is not stirring up the Russians against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. As you can see, Russians are saying, look, there's nothing you can do to pay us off for what you've done, because the Russians are, as far as they're concerned in their mind, it's Britain, France, and America, alongside the Ukrainians that committed the terrorist attack in their country the other day. They believe all four of these groups are behind it. So there's no gold or silver that they can pay them off, because right now, with the war in Ukraine, truly believe the Lord is stirring up the Medes, the Russians. Their bows also shall dash the young men in pieces, to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eye shall not spare children. What are their bows? Their bows are their missiles. I said this before and I say it again. The war will start as a conventional war. When they come head on with each other, the Russians and the Americans and the NATO allies, when they come head on in the battlefield, which will be in the Middle East, in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the war will start as a conventional war, and then it's going to escalate to a nuclear war. The bows that they're going to dash, the bows that's going to use to dash the young men to pieces are the missiles. These are the intercontinental ballistic missiles. It says, and Babylon, which is America, the glory of the kingdoms, the glory of the world. Everyone wants to go to America. It's this great, great place till you actually get there and you realize what a shithole it can be. Right? No offense to those that live there, but you know what's going on in America. I know what's going on. I lived there for 10 years. I know America. And Babylon, the glory of the kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans, excellency, shall be as when Yahweh overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Meaning, these bows are the nuclear missiles. That's what's going to turn America into Sodom and Gomorrah, uninhabitable. It shall never, look, there you go. It shall never be inhabited. It's going to become a desolation, never inhabited. Neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian, the Ishmaelites, the Arabs that are everywhere in America, they own every liquor store, every food thing out there, everything. Neither the Arabs shall pitch their tent there. Neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. But the wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there, and the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and the dragons in their pleasant palaces, and in her time, this is what I'm going to hear, and her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. Can't say this enough. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. America's getting ready to come to go down. First, it's going to be economically, financially, before it goes down by war. It's getting ready to go down. Be prepared, truly. Keep yourselves prayed up. Keep close to the Most High, Yahweh Shai. Keep yourselves prayed up. Don't let these devils remove you from. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Oh, we've hit the hour mark. Look at that. I didn't get to any of your precepts, brother. I can see you brothers are putting up some beautiful precepts. I was kind of floating in the spirit there. But Tawada, for all of the brothers that was putting up precepts on the comment board, as always, brothers diligently doing their work as we do. We're all feeding the flock. And Tawada for you brothers that were feeding the flock on the comment board while I was edifying here live. So I pray you were edified. I pray you understood. I know the first half hour was more information and then we kind of went, but sometimes we have to kind of give you the nitty gritty of certain things to give you a little bit more understanding of how we know how all these things, these events connect, how all of these dots connect, how we know who is in this war, who's on what side and how it's going to go down. And we do it in the spirit of the Lord, because we truly believe the Lord has got the Holy Spirit working with the men of GMS Great Millstone. We always declare that we have the 100% truth, and we will stand by that in the spirit. So I pray you are edified, your brothers and your sisters. As always, as I always have to say, keep praying, keep safe, repent, and hold on to this truth. This is where we need to be at. Because America's time is truly near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. So you can see that's happening. It's going to decay from the inside to the outside. So shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises and glory to Yahweh, Shimi Hoshai, Basham, Kodash. Shalom, family, all praises.